Hi everyone, welcome to part 2. Okay, Bolbochan has just played Queen d8. And this might seem strange, but he has to protect the bishop, and he may as well prevent white from playing h4, thanks to the pressure on g5 in the process. So Fischer continued with f4, instead threatening f5 with growing pressure. It's important to note that he can't play knight takes e7 check, hoping to win a pawn, after queen takes e7 with queen takes d6, because now comes rook c d8, which is losing on the spot. What's more, the knight at the outpost here on d5 is probably more valuable than the winning of a pawn in any case, and certainly not worth trading for the bad bishop on e7. So f4 anyway. E takes f4 is practically forced, or the pressure will become too much. So queen takes f4, and now queen d7, attacking the rook at h3. Fischer answered with queen f5, which is a nice counter that Bolbochan might have overlooked, because now there'll be no exchanging queens. If queen takes f5, then knight takes e7 check is going to win a piece, and the knight can take on f5 after the king moves. And already we're seeing some of the strengths of the knight at the d5 outpost. Play continued with the rook c d8. If instead rook f d8 to protect the queen, now comes queen takes d7, rook takes d7, and knight b6, winning the exchange and the game easily. So rook c d8, and now rook a3, which is a very nice move from Fischer that really emphasizes how ideal his position has become. In his own words, white can afford the luxury of probing for weaknesses on both sides of the board, and just probing weaknesses themselves. This a6 pawn is weak, and the reason why it's able to do this is because he has a good space advantage, and black is being reduced to passivity with no active counterplay. Bolbochan played queen a7 in order to defend, and Fischer can win a pawn now with knight takes e7, queen takes e7, and rook takes a6, and Fischer wrote that this was probably objectively the best way to continue, but he didn't play it because he was hoping to win in the middle game, and although that continuation would win material, the winning of the game would be a long, drawn-out technical one. So this is preferable. And Fischer responded instead with rook c3, which takes control of the semi-open c file, and threatening rook c7, attacking the queen and the bishop and winning a piece. And black can't challenge the c file control because the queen at f5 is also eyeing c8, so rook c8 is simply losing a rook. And queen d7, to challenge the queen, loses tactically. We'll have a look at that in a moment. White now has a significant advantage at well over a pawn. Fischer noted here that a tempting move at this stage instead of rook c3 was knight f6 check, but added that it's not the best continuation available to white, because black can simply take with the bishop with bishop takes f6, which leads to a simplification and no mating attack for white after g takes f6, and now g6. If queen g5, hoping for a mate on g7, simply king h8, and a rook can come to g8 if queen h6, and white has no forced win, and not a strong position as he had in the game continuation. However, if instead, after knight f6 check, g takes f6, if black gets materialistic, white is winning with g takes f6, because king h8 is forced to avoid mate, and now comes queen g5, again threatening mate on g7. If bishop takes f6, then queen takes f6, and rook g3 check is mating. So the best move is a rook g8, but now white has f takes e7, so winning easily. A very nice continuation. If rook takes g5, then e takes d8, queening with check, and white is a rook ahead with a winning attack coming. Black has lost in every continuation from here on. But anyway, back to the game continuation. Rook c3 is what Fischer has just played, and Bolbochan answered with g6, which is the correct defense, albeit a passive one. If he tries instead queen d7, hoping to exchange queens or at least contest the c-file. Now comes the rook c7, winning at least a piece. If queen takes f5, then knight takes e7 check, again finishes a piece ahead, and if the queen moves, then the bishop is falling because it's attacked by the rook and the knight. Another defense that might be one to consider is, instead of g6, rook d7. But this succumbs to knight f6 check, forcing bishop takes f6. If instead g takes f6, white's winning easily with g takes f6 in a similar style to the variation we looked at a moment ago. So knight takes f6, bishop takes f6, now g takes f6, and a game-winning attack coming, no matter how black defends. So g6 is the correct defense. Fischer answers with queen g4, which maintains the c-file control. But now black is able to play queen t3 in order to challenge it, because the defense we saw before with knight takes e7, of course isn't winning, because queen takes f5 is coming. There's no tactical way out of the position, but Fischer can maintain the pressure with queen f3, and a growing advantage, which is now not far from 2 pawns. Black still cannot challenge the c-file, thanks again to the knight at d5. If rook c8, then rook takes c8, and rook takes c8 is forced. If queen takes c8, then knight takes e7 check is winning the queen. So rook c8, rook takes c8, rook takes c8, but now knight b6 will attack the rook at c8 and the queen on d7. And so that's not possible. So Fischer maintains the positional pressure, and Bolbochan played queen e7, which avoids those tactics. So he might be able to play rook c8 on the next move, but he's a tempo behind, and Fischer can now play rook c7 with a dangerous rook on the 7th rank with tempo due to the threat on the bishop. It's attacked by the rook and the knight. And black's passivity is thus maintained. He has to play rook d8 to defend the bishop. If instead rook d7, now knight f4 forces the queen away from the protection of the rook. Another possible defense is rook fe8, but after rook f1, white's advantage is over 2 pawns, and black is running out of moves. If, for example, rook c8, now rook a7 just threatens to mop up these queenside pawns. If rook a8 to challenge the rook, now rook takes a8, rook takes a8, and knight c7, once again showing the strength of the d5 knights, winning the exchange and the game. So rook de8 to defend, and now comes knight f4, attacking the queen, and the only available square is e5, where after rook d5, the queen, as well as all of black's other pieces, is forced into passivity with queen h8. Fischer now played a3, as he has all the time in the world to increase the pressure because black has no counterplay. This move gives his king some breathing space, which might be important after this position opens up, and it also prevents b4, which Bolbochan might have played with the distant hope of getting some play himself. In truth, he could easily resign here, but Fischer still has to find a way into the king. Bolbochan now played h6, which in Fischer's words was a bid for freedom. He has to try something. Fischer is threatening rook a7, and as before, just winning these queenside pawns and a simple endgame win. Playing f6 instead to challenge these white pawns is ill-advised and loses fairly quickly to queen b3. So g takes h6 and queen takes h6, which is the right move. Getting greedy with bishop takes h4 can be punished with knight takes g6. And after f takes g6, queen b3, which threatens mate in 3 with rook takes g6, and discover check from the queen. And white's winning easily here. The best defense is bishop e7, but now comes rook e5 with a check from the queen. And best play goes d5, queen takes d5 check, king h7, rook e takes c7 check, rook takes c7, rook takes e7 check, king takes h6, queen d2 check, king h5, and now a nice shot, rook h7 check. Where after queen takes h7, queen h2 check goes into a winning endgame after king g5 and queen takes h7. But back to the game continuation. Queen takes h6 is what Bolbochan played. Now comes h5, and the kingside assault continues. So bishop g5, which is apparently a nice shot from Bolbochan, finally achieving some initiative of his own, which is what he must have hoped for after playing h6 and liberating his position a bit. Fischer found a creative answer though. If you want to try and spot it, then stop the video now. H takes g6 is the move, as always showing his crystal clear calculating abilities. Black has to play f takes g6. If instead bishop takes f4, g takes f7 is completely winning. Best play goes rook takes f7, rook takes f7, king takes f7. Now rook h5 forces the queen away from the protection of the bishop, after which will come queen takes f4 check and a winning attack, thanks to the badly exposed black king. So f takes g6, and now queen b3, which is a beautiful move, again letting his knight fall, and this time Bolbochan accepted. He has little choice. He played a rook takes f4. If instead king h8 to avoid the discovered check from the queen, now comes knight takes g6 check, forcing queen takes g6 to avoid mate. Now rook takes g5, where there's no queen takes g5 or queen h3 will be mating. The black queen is attacked by the rook, and there's no way to defend simultaneously against the threats of queen c3 check, queen h3 check, and queen h5 check, which will all be winning the game. The best move is rook f1 check, where we see the use of Fischer's move a3 earlier, because now king a2 is playable. And after queen takes g5, queen h3 check is winning back the material with a winning position. After king g8, queen takes f1. Another possible continuation is capturing with the bishop instead of the rook on f4 after queen b3. Bishop takes f4, but this allows rook h5 with check from the queen, and it's not only winning the black queen, but mating the king in a maximum of 8 moves. So it's just an incredible continuation from Fischer. So rook takes f4 is what happened in the game. And now rook e5 with that very, very dangerous discovered check from the queen, and white is winning easily. In actual fact, it's a forced mate, despite white being a piece down. It's remarkable how Fischer manages to maintain such pressure in these games. For a long time, if Bolbochan had just one extra move, he could have solved the problems of his position and perhaps even defended successfully, but Fischer is relentless. Here, Bolbochan played king f8, which quickened his demise. After rook takes e8 check, he resigned, because the mate is coming quickly. King takes e8 is forced, but now comes queen e6 check, king f8, and queen c8 check is gonna mate. So it was another incredible game from Fischer, and the last of this series, because as I said, I'm going to be covering the candidates tournament. So I hope you enjoyed this game and this series. Please leave any comments or thoughts. Thanks very much.